little review. What's the main 4 chords in the key of D? You should know it's D, G, A, and B minor. Anytime you see those 4 chords together in a song, you'll know you're in the key of D. But what if it's just 3 of those? Chances are, you're still in the key of D. Let's say it's like a D and an E minor and a G and an A. All right, well, we didn't go to B minor, say, right? Well, E minor is in the key, and that melody is gonna revolve around the key of D, the key of D. You hear how D chord felt like home? It felt like just like it was home, right? All right, so I've been promising these fancier chords, what I call type 2 chords, meaning common. Actually, they'll be kind of type 2 and type 3 chords. Type 2 chords are like modern or common shapes of chords that we play today a lot of times. And those chords are, starting with D. I'm just going to show you some alternate or added motions to these chords to give them a little bit of flavor, a little bit of motion, just a little bit of making things interesting. Those type 1 chords, like the plain D, plain A, plain G, plain B minor, they're just exactly that. They just do the trick. There's nothing super interesting about them, but they do fill that gap for that chord, right? Well, we want to bring color into our playing, right? So here's starting with D. Obviously, we have regular old D, but something I commonly do is I'll do this add 9 note. What do I mean by add 9? Well, let's sing this starting from this D note. Let's go up all the way till if we say 1 and we count up, we'll land on this high E note. Listen to this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's what we mean when we bring numbers in, is we're counting from the chord we're on, calling it 1, its own sovereign 1. And let's say it's a 4, right? Commonly a D sus 4. Well, what's D's 4 note? Looking at the key of D, the circle of chords, D's 4 note is a G note. So when we say D sus 4, what we mean is play a D chord, but bring in a 4 note, leaving out the 3 note. I know it's fancy, but it's the language. We got to learn that language. Listen to this. Da, 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 da. Naturally, the D chord has an F sharp note in it. 1, 2, 3, F sharp. If we add the pinky note, da 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 da, we've lifted that F sharp note to a G note. We've lifted the chord, suspended it in the air. It's suspended. It's not resolved. It's resolved when we bring it back down to D. Music should be full of tension and release and tension and release. That's what pulls us. That's what moves us. So let's say you see a D chord on a chord chart. There's nothing wrong with, say, suspending it, releasing it, or doing the D add 9. Okay? So there's some fun little chords starting with D. Let's go to E minor. Okay. What I like to do with this E minor chord a lot of times is instead of doing a plain E minor, I'll go ahead and include this D note right here with my 3rd finger. Again, what note did we say that was? It's a D note. Well, we're in the key of D, right? So E minor doesn't naturally have a D note in it. But when we bring that note in, it kind of connects us. It binds, in a way, the E minor chord with the D chord. That was a D add 9, so no middle finger. Okay. Da-da, da-da. Right? Sounds pretty cool. Let's get better at those numbers. What in the world does the 7 mean? What does it really mean? Not just how do I play it, but what does it mean? Well, 7 is right lower than 8, right? 8 is octave, so 8s and 1s are the same. So the 7 note is right behind an 8, or a 1, an octave of the 1. So if you want to know what any note's 7 note is, a quick way to get you close is take the letter behind it and put that note in your chord. Let's talk about an example. A7. Let's say you don't know how to play an A7, but you would like to play one. Well, you play an A chord, and what's the letter behind A? The letter lower than A is a G note. Remember, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. That's the musical alphabet. So if you can find a G note, what you'll do is you'll bring that G note into your chord. There's 2 ways to play an A7, or an A with a higher G note in it. The 7 needs to be in the higher range, not like a bass note, but kind of in a way anywhere higher than the bass note, if you think it sounds good. Well, we have an open G on the 4th string down, so why don't we just release that middle note? We could do it like that, or we could put our middle finger down. Dun. There's the 7 note and there's the A that wants to go to D. To D. Here's also a high G note, like where you have a G chord. You could play an A and go, it's kind of a more jazzy way. But anyway, that's a little side thing on numbers. So this 3rd position chord, the D over F sharp, most commonly the 3rd position is a 1 over 3, D over F sharp. We're getting fancy, guys. Commonly, I'll do that D add 9. Again, I did this on the video too. We bring this middle finger up, or the 2nd finger up to where the pointing finger normally goes, so that we can throw the pointing finger on top, the 1st finger. What I normally do, it's not a terrible thing to include your A note, A string, but what I normally do with my pointing finger is I'll touch the 2nd string, the A string, just muting it. The A note is in the D chord, but by muting it, it just cleans it up a little bit. You can include the A note, but I go ahead and mute it by touching it, barely flapping down just a tiny bit to touch it. Don't bar it, don't press it, just barely touch it, and the vibration goes away, which means it doesn't make sound. Okay, D over F sharp. D add 9 over F sharp. Whoa, getting fancy, I'm telling you. All right, another D over F sharp chord while I'm at it. Looks like this. All right, what am I doing here? Well, I've got a D chord, but what I'm doing, instead of using these 2 fingers to hold those notes down, I'm barring with my pointing finger across all 3, and I'm using my 2nd finger to hold what I would normally use this finger for. So it's still a plain D, but the F sharp chord I'm playing is right here. Stairway to Heaven uses this D over F sharp. It's a much more bright, delicate version of the D over F sharp. This one's oh, this is a okay. Another way to get that, if you can reach it, throwing that pinky all the way up on that 4th fret. So D chord, and on the D string, going to the 4th fret. It wants to go to G. So let's move on to our 4th chord, G. Well, what I'll say about the G chord in the key of D is I like to normally leave my 3rd finger here. Kind of the more common way of playing G, which is these 2 stack up on top of each other, and not the older traditional way, type 1. This is a type 1 chord as well, but it's common, so it's kind of type 1 or type 2. But I leave it there. Why? Well, it's a D note, and we're in the key of D. So for one, it threads itself melodically and harmonically with D, and you can use it to get there faster. It's easier to leave that third finger there and go to G than it would be to take all your fingers off and do a more traditional style where it's just on the high string. So I go ahead and do both of those, and I use this as a pivot finger to get from D to G. Okay. I'll say one more chord for the key of D that I like to do when I have a G chord I have to play, and that is a G add 9. And the way you play that is you take that pointing finger down 1, 2 notes. What it does is it connects it again. The whole point of these colored or fancy chords is to connect the chord sounds harmonically with each other, so it sounds like they're really kind of, the sound is more melded together. So we have G add 9. What I'm doing is I'm touching that A string with my second finger so that it doesn't play. You could include it, it wouldn't be terrible, because it is a 9 note there. So what's a 9? Well, again, a 9 is a 2. What's he talking about? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9s and 2s are the same, just like 1s and 8s are the same. Crazy, I know. Let it sink in. Don't say what? Say, okay, I can deal with that. The theory, music theory. All right, so what I like to do sometimes is leave that pointing finger there. And again, it has a fancy name, G add 9, but it also ties itself to the D chord. 2 notes didn't change at all. 3 if you include the open D. I was just throwing that second finger all the way up to the G. And there's one more cool kind of a chord. It's G's 6, the open E string. Let's see if that's right. What's G's 6? Starting with the G note, call it 1, G, A, B, C, D, E. G's 6th note is an E. Well, there's a high E there. So we have a G add 9, 6, or add 6. It's a cool sounding chord. D's 9 note is G's 6th note. What is that note? It's an E note. All right, so we've done the D, the E minor, the D over F sharp, the G. Let's go to the 5 chord, A. I really like this A chord in the key of D. It's an A sus4, or A suspended most commonly. Anytime you see a sus and it doesn't have a number, usually they're referring to the 4 note. Okay, what's A's 4 note? A, call it 1, A, B, C sharp, D. It's a D note, okay? This, again, is a D note. All right, so bringing that thread, again, that D note thread through the chords sounds nice. So let's say we have a D, and we gotta go to A. Well, why not just leave that there? It sounds cool. The D sus4, or A sus4. Back to D. Going to A sus4. All right, that's a cool, I like the A sus4 sound in the key of D, again, because that D note is the thread connecting the 2 chords. If they weren't connected by that D note, they'd be more like 2 blocks rather than more connected to each other, melded over each other in a way. All right, let's go. Well, let's talk about A a little bit more. I like the A add 9. All that is an open B. It's not a great chord for the key of D, but you might think it sounds cool. Sounds pretty neat. Just leaving that B string open down there. Let's move on to B minor. I've been promising since video 1 that we would do an easier B minor. Here it is. Dun, 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 dun. people shy away from the key of D because of that traditional B minor. Even if you can get the B minor, it's still kind of difficult maybe in a live situation to make that big jump to the B minor. It's still a great B minor, it's traditional B minor. But for the key of D, here's a alternate B minor. Looks like this. What you do is you take these two fingers, both of them, and move them up 2 strings. And you leave your third finger where it is. This note is a B note, so we have our B. We have an open D below it, and D is a natural note in the B minor chord. It is the minor note, what makes it minor. What this does is makes it a 7 note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. B's 7 note. B, C, D, E, F, G, A. B's 7 note is an A note. That is an A note right here. Okay. This is the D note, which again is B's minor note. When you play that B minor chord, we have that exact note right here. It's a D note. And what that high E string does, it gives that B minor a 4 note. E is B's 4 note. So it's a B minor 7 with a 4 in it also. So there's 2 colors in that chord. Sounds cool, right? How about to A sus4? Leaving that there. In fact, one of the points to this third video is that when you're in the key of D, for each of your chords, if you think it fits the song, you could leave that third finger there on that D note, and that D note will thread all those chords, kind of make them sound more nice fitted to the key of D, because it's a D note. So we're leaving that note there when we play D. We're leaving it there when we play the E minor 7. We're leaving it there when we play the D over F sharp. We're leaving it there when we play the G. We're leaving it there when we play the A sus4. We're leaving it there when we play the B minor 7 with a 4. And here we go to the 7th chord, the A over C sharp. When I'm in the key of D, sometimes I will leave that finger there again for my A over C sharp. There's a little dissonance there because we have a D note and a C sharp note. So together, there's tension. But remember, what did we say about music? Music should be full of tension and release, tension and release. So just listen to how it sounds. Sounds cool, right? So the way I'm doing it now is I'm keeping my D shape when I'm going to the A over C sharp for the key of D. I'm keeping my shape. I'm releasing the high string and going pinky up here, and I'm muting the D string. So what we have is the C sharp, we have a muted D, we get our A, because it's an A chord here that we're trying to mimic, and we have basically it's an A sus4 with a high E string in it. Sounds cool. So traditionally that would be, again, going back to the first video, the traditional way to play an A over C sharp is like that or like that with the C sharp note in it. So you might like that better. You know, with that more plain sound. So that's, I mean, it's more like a D over C sharp, D add 9 over C sharp, but you can make it work for your A over C sharp if you want to do it. So let's go through each chord one more time, and I would encourage you to pause it at any point and go through the chords yourself. But I'm going to play each chord in the key one more time, just like we did in video 2. But this time, let's do the fancy chords that we did. Let's do D add 9. How about bring that note back in if you want? Suspend it if you want. That's that pinky note. E minor 7. D over F sharp with the 9 in it. The G add 9. To A sus4. B minor 7, the 4 in it. A over C sharp, A sus over C sharp, and D. Okay. The main point to take away from these, you might want to write these down, is just the main chords for the key, how to recognize when you're in the key, and some alternate shapes. Again, if you're in the key of D, you see an A chord on your chord progression. What's wrong with suspending that A chord, maybe, if you think it sounds good? Nothing at all. What I just do, I played A sus, resolved it to A, and back to D chord. Alright, that's a nice introduction. That's the third video for the key of D. I hope I've hopefully given you not only a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of theory, a little bit of the concepts around the key of D. Hopefully now you can recognize when you're in the key of D. You'll see the D, G, A, and B minor chord probably in the song. We filled in the holes with the circle of chords, and hopefully I've given you a couple little moves, little added flavor chords that you can add when you're playing in the key of D. There's the D, E minor with a 7 in it, D over F sharp with the high E string in it. Pause this video anytime, rewind and go back over it. G with the 9, A suspended, resolve in it, easy B minor. Sounds nice to hammer that guy on. A over C sharp of any sort that you like. You could go traditional. You could include that note here, the D note. Thanks again for watching this video for the key of D. We're going to get into the key of E and the key of G next. I hope you'll stick around for all of these series. Hopefully they'll give you some moves and a little bit of knowledge. We'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.